In this episode of Test Drive, we're going to put head tracking for Microsoft Flight Simulator through its paces. With all the hype around a VR beta and the recent release of the HP Reverb GT, could this be an alternative, and can the sim be used as a tool and not just for entertainment? So stick around as this video starts now. Welcome to another test drive video. Now, if you haven't seen one of these before, this is where we take a scenery, an add-on, an aircraft, or even a utility in different types of simulators. We'll take them for a spin around the block and I'll give you my first impressions. Is it worth your hard-earned cash should you purchase them? So hit that subscribe button for a more weekly test drive and flight sim content. Head tracking has been around for many years now. It's no new tech at all. I jumped on the bandwagon many years ago, but soon my tracking headset was gathering dust, as I thought the sims were not where they needed to be to make head tracking a decent experience. Fast forward a few years and a new sim, and I'm looking at a stopgap while waiting for a VR for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or a quick solution for when I don't feel like wearing a VR headset. There are many different products out there on the market, some payware, some freeware, but there seems to be one that's the most popular one, which is Track IR. Track IR5 comes with its own software and a infrared light back camera and a track clip pro. Basically, the camera tracks the sensors on a tracking clip that gives you 6 degrees of motion. One issue that I had with the tracking clip pro, it is very flimsy and my headset is too big to fit the pro clip. They do include a clip to place on a baseball cap as well, so we'll be using that one today. Here is a shot of my settings for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 with the Track IR. So let's jump in the sim and try to pull off something I would consider as one of the hardest things to do in flight sim, which is circuits or patterns, depending on what country you're from. Welcome to the simulator. So we're at my local airport, which is Caloundra YCDR. We've got live weather turned on, so if I have a look with the Track IR, because we do have Track IR turned on, the weather is favouring runway 12. So we're going to get the aircraft ready and we're going to taxi it back to runway 12. And the idea is we're going to do 3 circuits. The hardest thing to do in a simulator, in my opinion, is doing circuits. So with Track IR, will this make this a tool that we can use to, instead of just doing entertainment, to actually simulate in a sort of as much as you can in a real live environment? So that's the plan anyway. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to do startups or run-ups or anything like that. I've never flown a 152 in real life before, but I do have some charts over here, so we'll fly to that as much as possible. Now, there's 3 points of interest I'll be looking for in the circuit for runway 12, which is a right circuit. Is a bridge, so then we know when we need to turn it on our downwind, and also the end of the runway, or the start of the runway, the threshold for runway 12, and also there's 3 roads there, which I'll talk about once we get on our base, and that should get us on the circuit, and hopefully we turn into our final, and we're all going to be lined up and ready to go. So we've been saying that, let's get this aircraft started. So the probably hardest thing to do with Track IR is to pretty much look down. So we're going to get rid of the yoke for a second, and we're going to make sure that we've got our mixture and throttle set there, okay, which is good. So we're going to turn on, put some power into the aircraft. We're going to turn our nav lights on, our beacon lights on, and that's all we'll turn on to start off with. And we'll prime the aircraft. 3 of those. And we'll yell out, we'll look around, make sure there's no one around, and we'll yell out, clear prop! And we'll kick it over. There we go, she's all sounding up. Wait for her T's and P's and all that sort of stuff to come up. So we'll turn our pitot heats on. Taxi lights can go on. That can go back for now. So we're going to do radio calls and all that sort of stuff to simulate as much as possible. I'm going to sound like a goose here in the office here, but that's alright. So we're going to tune to Caloundra, which is 125850, and then the other one is Brisbane that we would normally tune into. So we'll do that even though no one's going to hear what we're going to be saying. Get that right. It's going the longest way possible to get to 000. Yeah, we can stop pretty close on. There we go. And we are good to go. So we do also have live traffic on. So if there's anybody flying around the sim, they'll see us in the pattern. I believe there's someone is lurking down at runway 05. They've been there for a while. So I'm not sure what they're doing down there, but we've got nameplates turned off. But if we do see any aircraft in the circuit, we'll definitely see what's going on. So I'm going to pretty much run over these marshals, but that's okay. So we're going to throttle back, release the brakes. Caloundra traffic, Cessna 8515 is taxiing to holding point runway 23. So there's 4 runways at Caloundra, and there's no taxiways, so to speak, so we basically have to enter at runway 23, which will hold there. Put it over there. No runway, no hold markings, but that's alright. Just check here that there's no one flying or landing on the crosswind like we would normally do. And it's going to be interesting because I haven't really changed my throttles and my yoke and my rudder pedals since the latest update that's dropped down today. So that may be interesting in itself. So we're going to drop our 1 notch of flaps. So as you can see, I'm moving around and I can move around quite easy. So strobes are going on, landing lights going on, taxi lights can go off. So it's quite easy to see. Like, it can have a good look. Obviously a Cessna. Don't fly any of these in. I usually fly low wing aircraft, so you can't really see who's coming along anyway. So Caloundra traffic, Cessna 8515 is entering runway 23, backtracking, taxiing backtracking for 05 for 12 Caloundra. So we've just given our taxi saying that we're entering runway 23 and we're backtracking for 05 for 12. I know my calls were a little bit off there, but I normally practice my radio calls when there's no one around, but you guys get to hear it today. So we get a good sense of as we're turning. They're lined up there pretty badly. And you will get an odd case of that, and I think that's probably because the hat that I'm using, the microphone got in the way. And the reason why I'm using the hat is because with the Track IR feature, it comes with like a headset clamp, but when you're using big thick headsets these days, it won't clip onto it, and it's pretty poorly made in my opinion, so that the hat version works quite well. There is other versions of truckers out there that use mobile phone technology and all that sort of stuff like that. We're actually going to slow down here. Sure, there's no one landing that I can see, which I can't see. Caloundra traffic, Cessna 8515 is entering backtracking at runway 12 Caloundra. Quite interesting how Cessna pilots can't see anything when they're looking out. So we do have a little bit of a crosswind, but I don't think it's going to bother us too much. So the charts that I've got says that the 152 rotates at 50 knots, climb or best angle of climb, which we need to do here because these trees are like massive. They're the wrong height for this area, at 67 knots, and our approach is between 65 and 55. So we're going to go straight in the middle and go for 50. So they're the numbers we're going to be working for our circuit today. So if you like these sort of videos, I know it's a bit different than what you're normally used to, please hit that like button, and also let us know in the comments below if you want to see more of this sort of procedural type of stuff. It was more of a tended to be a video just to show Track IR, but we might as well do this as a reason why, in my opinion, why you would install it, and that's to get the most realism possible. So we're going to line up on runway 12. Yeah. Going to whack on the anchors. I'm cheating, I'm using a handbrake, and we're going to make sure everything's good to go. So strobes on, landing lights on, we are good to go. Plan to traffic Cessna 8515 is rolling runway 12 for Circuits Caloundra. There we go. Alrighty, let's roll. RPM's looking good. There's 40. There's 50, so we're going to rotate. Got some speed there, so above, we're at 70, so we're going to pitch up for 67. Get over these trees. So I'm trimming the aircraft because I don't fly 152, so I'm not sure what the trim should be for takeoff. So above 300, so we're going to pop up the laps and we'll have to trim some more. We're going to keep our climb going. Get as high as quick as we can. So normally at 500 you'd make your turn, but this runway here we sort of get over make sure we get higher above the buildings down here. So we're going to fly pretty much to the coast here and then we'll begin our turn. 700, so clear on the left, center, right. Make sure we keep climbing as we turn. I'll show you the bridge that we're looking for. Alright, so there's 1,000. We're going to push the nose down and anticipate. Get in our traffic circuit height. And that's the bridge there. So that's what I'm looking for to judge to when I need to turn on my downwind leg. What we're going to do. It's a little bit hazy today, isn't it? Alright, so we're clear on the left, center, right. So we're looking for other aircraft there. And this is the cool thing, so I don't need to use a hatch switch. And normally, you know, my first preconception was if you're using Track IR, do you need to like turn too much, you know, to see what you're doing? So there's that bridge, and basically what we want to do, we want to line up with this estate here, edge of it here, roll out here. But you don't need to turn your head too much. I'll pop my settings up here in a quick second so you can see what I'm actually using. So there's the runway there. So normally I would be doing checks here, but we're not going to be doing that. And I'm looking for the windsock, make sure we're still on runway 12. But you can't really see that at Caloundra in the sim because the trees are too high. But now the other point of interest is I'm looking for the end of runway 12. A little bit of turbulence up here. But yeah, that's one of the things up at southeast Queensland is the trees are just way too high in the sim. It's what the local area should be. Looking for the end of the threshold. There's a little bit, a few bumps around, but it's later in the day. That's when you would expect it. Alright there, so there it is there. We've gone above 1,000, so we're going to reduce speed for slow flight. So you can retract the flaps at 85 on the 152 says my chart, but it's alright, we'll do it a little bit less than that. We're going to trim and we're going to start dropping altitude, and we're going to wait for the runway to be at our 30 degree, or behind us anyway. So we're going to clear left, center, and right. Caloundra traffic, Cessna 8515 is turning base for runway 12 for touch and goes, Caloundra. So the other point of interest that I'm looking for on my circuit is, it's probably hard for you guys to see, but I can notice it here, and it's this little patch of this estate here, and there's normally 3 roads, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to lose a lot of altitude too, so we're going to lose another lot of flaps because we want to be about between 600 and 500 for our turn. So, and also we're going to be looking on our left hand side, make sure there's no aircraft on final. There we go, we're getting to the altitude we want to be. So we're going to clear left, center, right, and we're going to begin our turn. Make sure we don't sink too much, so we're going to increase throttle. So hopefully we can get our turns a little bit better than that by the time we get to our third leg. We're going to use a bit of rudder here. We're at 500, so we're at the right height there. We're aiming for 60. It's a bit hard because these trees are a little bit higher. But we're pretty stable. So pitching for 60 and adding throttle when we get sync. Like there. Normally you wouldn't get this close to trees. Alright, so pushing the nose down. We've got a little bit of a crosswind, so the nose is turned a little bit, so use a bit of right rudder. There we go. Drop one notch of flaps. Hopefully that dropped down. We're going to trim, and there we're going to go for our second takeoff. So there's 50. Raise the nose. She wants to fly. There's 60. Yeah. Make sure we get above the trees. Feel like I'm sitting in the back seat today. Trim. There's one notch of flaps at 300, then we'll gain some speed. So there's more than just Track IR. Track IR is the one sort of head tracking. There's a bunch of different free ones as well, and I think some paidware ones. I'll leave some links in the descriptions for you guys to check out. I've only used this one, and I used it for prepared, and to be honest, in prepared it didn't really do very well for me, so I think it's had a more use doing this video than any time I've actually used it. So we're going to clear to the left, center, right. But how's the views out of Microsoft Flight Simulator today? Looking pretty good. I mean, 1,000 feet, so we're going to push the nose down and then throttle back. Straighten up. Trim to get our level flight. Looking for that bridge. There's that bridge there, so we want to make sure that we turn at that bridge and we don't let anything get away from it. So we're going to make our turn. Left, center, right. I think we're pretty much the only one in the circuit today. And the good thing is Track IR can just be switched on or it can be switched off, and you can pause it, so you can switch between the two of just basically normal screen view against Track IR view or head tracking view. There we go, make sure we turn. And this could be, you know, if you can't afford VR, and we know that VR is in development and should be out soon for Microsoft Flight Simulator, this could be, you know, your next best thing. Certainly a lot easier to film than VR. Alrighty, so normally we'd be doing our landing checklist here. We're not going to be doing that. So there's a runway there. Let's see if we can get a better approach. We've got a bit of sink there. It's a bit bumpy. Alright, so passing, there's 0.5 there. All the time I'm looking and I'm scanning around. So there's the end of the runway there. So we're going to pull back and get ready for slow flight. And putting 1 notch of flaps there. I'm going to be looking for that runway in the back there. So we're going to clear on the left, center, right. Plan of traffic, Cessna 8515 is turning base for runway 12 for touch and goes, Caloundra. To make sure we're not dropping any altitude here. We're going to really drop that nose now. Roll back. So we sort of balls that up, but we'll see if we can catch up. And we go, second notch of flap should slow us down. Does. And make sure there's no oncoming aircraft. Looking for the runway, which is in a blind spot at the moment. There it is there, we can still see it. We're going to make our turn, clear left, center, right. We're going to turn now, about 500. So you want to be around about 500 for your turn. There we go, that was a little bit better. Need to slow down a little bit. Like we're a little bit low. Now we're going to pitch down. Those trees are something I'm not used to here. But we're in 65 to 55. It says your basically approach speed is. We've got a bit of sink actually. Get really low to the numbers this time around. Trim, 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 trim. Let's get going. There's 50. Just probably need to keep concentrating on running straight down the runway. RPM's good. There's 300 there. So flaps. Go out more trim for that. Make sure we're going up still. And clear left, center, right. We'll make our turn. And make sure that we're pitching for the right speed to get our altitude, which we weren't. We should be at 1,000 by now. There's that bridge. So we're not at the bridge yet, which is good. Get me to 1,000 feet. We push the nose down, throttle back. There's the bridge there. So we just make sure we trim. Clear left, center, right. Make our turn. This would be pretty cool if you had a few buddies doing some circuits like you would be in real life with a busy circuit. Making sure we stay at 1,000. We don't get much lower than that. There we go. So now we're on our downwind leg again. There's the airport there. We'd be looking for the windsock. Takes about 8 minutes or so to do a circuit. And this one will be doing a full stop. And push down the nose a little bit. There we go, there's runway 05, so we're past that. If we had an engine out, we'd be able to make it into that runway. No problems. And also we've got to remember we've got a tailwind, so the aircraft will slow down once we start turning around. So there's into the runway, so we're going to pull back. And there's one notch of flaps. Start to descend. We're a little bit too high as well. That's why we keep creeping up. So we're going to clear the left, center, right. Clandra traffic, Cessna 8515 is turning in base for runway at 12 for a full stop landing Caloundra. Let's see if we can make this one our best one. You always want to make your last landing your best one. I'm trimming heaps though. I tell you what, Microsoft Flight Simulator, you need to trim quite a lot. You don't need to really trim this much in an aircraft, I wouldn't think. Right, second notch of flaps. Making sure we're losing our altitude. You can see the runway there in our blind spot, making sure there's no aircraft coming along. Sure we're not gonna stall here. Keep it at about 60. So clear a left, center, a right. Begin our turn. There we go. We got that turn probably. That's our best one. Speed's good. I'm pushing the aircraft downward. Before we were probably a little bit too low. So far this is probably our best one. And you can just practice this stuff. You can just keep going around and around and around. Using my rudder pedals here. Aircraft seems pretty well trimmed up. Oh. Sure what's going on there. It's put me off a little bit. There we go. You guys are going to see it. What we're going to do is a go around on this one. Alright, so we're going to give this another go. So what actually happened there is I had some sun rays screaming through a gap of my window. And basically put the track IR off. So we're clear on the left, center, right. We're going to make our last turn in. So we were trying to perform a go around, but we couldn't get there though. So I guess that could be a disadvantage of a tracking. But there we go. The turn to final wasn't too bad. I think the weather conditions are slightly changed a little bit. It's a bit more variable and more gusting. Yeah, we're bouncing around a little bit more. It's alright. So there's 60 as the runway, so we're gonna throttle back. Eyes on the runway. There we go. Brakes on a little bit. Calandra traffic, Cessna 8515 is entering and backtracking a runway 23 for the apron, Calandra. Obviously we would have checked there to see if there was any aircraft, but we know. So there's the windsock belting around there a little bit. So that's 2 touch and goes and a full stop in a circuit with head tracking. In my opinion, there is a place for head tracking products within Microsoft Flight Simulator. This provides the virtual simmer better depth perception and also a wider viewing angle without the need to use a controller. I'll leave a link in the description below for Track IR and some of the other head tracking solutions that I've found. If you like this video, please smash that blue thumbs up button as it really helps out the video. And if you are new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with all the latest Microsoft Flight Simulator development news and insights, please click that subscribe button. I'm going to leave you with one of my other favorite Microsoft Flight Simulator videos. Why don't you check that one out, and I'll see you over there.